Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Revenue Diaries. Just a reminder, Revenue Diaries is where we talk to people about everything other than work. And the best part about it is that most of the guests don't get the questions ahead of time. Before I get into today's episode, which is a little bit different than what we've done in the past, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Share Your Genius, shareyourgenius.com. They help me with all of this. Everything you're listening to, the video, social posts, they help me think through the Revenue Diaries and create content that's meaningful, actionable, that people really want to listen to. So if you're trying to figure out podcast strategy, media strategy, content strategy, highly recommend you checking them out at shareyourgenius.com. Okay, so today's episode is a little bit different. I wanted to get tactical. So this has to do with work, but it's something that we're all thinking about every single day. I do write a diary every weekend on what I'm thinking about, and AI is in it quite regularly. My go-to resource for AI is the guest today. His name is Jordan Crawford. He calls himself a go-to-market engineer. He lives every aspect of that. And he's just a brilliant AI practitioner. We talk through a lot of things, but mainly focus on how marketers and sales leaders should be thinking about AI and how we should be thinking about building agents to help us do what we do on a daily basis. Outside of that, Jordan's a brilliant human being. He's hilarious. He's fun to listen to. I could sit here and listen to him for hours. So I hope you enjoy this episode of the Revenue Diaries.
Okay, so this will be an unedited interview. Welcome to a special episode of the Revenue Diaries. I'm your host, Kyle Lacey, and I'm joined by Jordan Crawford. Jordan is somebody that I've been following for a long time, and he produces an ungodly amount of great content. There's a lot of people that produce an ungodly amount of content. Jordan produces great content, and I've recently come across a bunch of stuff that you've been producing. Well, first off, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell, before we get into, like, I'm kind of chomping at the bit just to talk about all this stuff, but give everybody an overview of who you are, what you do, and then we can get into the AI robot world.
Okay, I have to say, your intro made me remind me of a comment that I read recently, which was like totally unjustified and not true. But someone said on my recent Jordan is the Jesus of go-to-market. And I said, I texted my friend, I'm like, just so you know, I'm not dying for your cold email sins. So
you need to change your LinkedIn profile now, man. Jesus, go-to-market Jesus.
I'm going to step in a big pile.
You know what? I think that might be the title of this episode: the interview with go-to-market Jesus.
Yay, nay, I shall bless you with good data. So come here, my son. All right. So my name is Jordan Crawford. I am a fractional go-to-market engineer, and my job is to take to find the most excited customers of yours and find more of them in the world by matching their insight with public data and delivering that message to the most relevant customer at scale.
Love it. Okay. So before we get into it, go-to-market engineer is a fairly new term for me. Like, I heard it 6 months ago. Can you explain to the people who have no idea what you're saying what go-to-market engineer means?
Sure. And we'll explain this with a metaphor here. So Kyle, when do you get donuts? Like if let's say, I mean, you look healthy, so you probably never eat donuts. So
I have two boys, 6 and 9, and we get donuts once a week.
Okay. So do you like before lunch you get a donut?
Yeah. That's
you do. Okay. Okay. But you don't need a donut for lunch. That's not your entire lunch.
Before lunch.
Before lunch. So we come from this world where tools like Apollo, ZoomInfo, they had interfaces, and we used the interface, and we existed in that world, right? And this new world is really confusing to us, and Clay is kind of leading the charge here on that confusion, frankly. It's just like, Clay, we'll confuse the hell out of you when you log in, right? Like that should be their tagline.
We'll still buy the product though.
Yeah. It's like you don't know why, but you're gonna write that check. It's like people come to me, I know I need Clay. I'm like, do you? And they're like, I know I need it. I better buy it. And I'm like, what a great place to be in. Like, what?
That's a
Can
great
you imagine
place
if
to
a
be.
car salesman had that problem? He's like, look, I have the check. I don't know what I need. I don't even know if I need a car, but I have money. I have money.
Just take my money.
You should take money. Yeah. So the challenge is that unlike these tools like Apollo, which you could learn and get, and it has a finite set of features, and a bunch of engineers had to build a new feature, and then you could learn the new feature. Clay is more like Python. And so an engineer doesn't sit down to Python and he or she doesn't say like, I'm in a Python today. Like, no, it's not a thing, right? You can get better at Python. For sure you can get better at Python, but to what end? And the problem is that we've never had to answer that question, to what end, because someone hired you and they said, you've got 3 months. I don't know how you're going to do it. Hire a bunch of people. We've got money to burn. Go have them smile and dial. And what you need to do is you need to send persona messages to people. Just say, hi, my name is Jordan Crawford. Here's what I do. MasterCard or Visa. Like that was our go-to-market motion. And, and then when we got fancier, we started accepting ACH because we didn't want to pay the fees. But we didn't improve the message and we didn't improve the targeting. And, and so this became the problem. And the best growth teams way before Clay have solved these problems before, but they took, Martin Roth, did a bunch of this stuff, and he had a bunch of people in the Philippines that would look at permits and public data, and he would collate that stuff, and it just took a massive amount of first principle thinking. It took a massive amount of money, and it took a massive amount of time. I mean, you and Mr. Norton had a conversation. I call him Mr. Norton.
Me too.
Mr. Norton had a conversation, but it took him 6 to 8 months to build that engine for owner.com. And no one was saying like, hey, Kyle, welcome to day one. We need pipeline tomorrow. No, it's like they built the system. And this is much easier to do for vertical SaaS companies because they're not a mile wide and inch deep.
Yeah.
And when you have a bunch of money, this is a really hard problem to solve, especially for horizontal SaaS. And you probably experienced this. Like, well, who do you serve? It's like everyone, their mother's cousin, 3 rungs down for their mother's cousin, and also we serve whales. And it's like, wait, what? It's not even just people. It's like, yeah, we've got a whale department. It's like, I don't understand what that means. And so this is the problem that we're kind of struggling with, is that it's like, well, if you give a message to whales that your mother's cousin also would resonate with, it's a different, like, whales want to eat seals.
Right.
Like your mother's cousin, like, presumably does not eat seals. So this is the kind of challenge that we're in, is that we have confused revenue teams that have had to exist under this sort of predictable model of like smile and dial, don't give the SDRs any direction, go send them out to, you can give them training on how to make better cold calls, but you don't really understand the persona because you got a bunch of them. And all of our tooling, all of our technology exists in that broken system. And I can kind of outline that if you'd like me to go.
Yeah. Well, what we got to go back to the original question to me though, which was the donut.
Oh
like,
yeah,
where's the donut?
I didn't land
now
that.
all I can think about is like the donut that I'm going to get after we get off this interview.
Yeah,
Because we talked about it before we jumped on, but I do think that the connection of the donut and all, the James Beard buffet and everything everything we're dealing with now is very, very important for everybody to hear and hear you say. So
yeah, I should
go back to the donut, the delicious donut.
Metaphor. Yeah. So we had this delicious donut, and the donut shop was the Apollo, was the Zoom info. You came in, there's a finite number of donuts, and a new donut would be released, and you're like, that's a new donut. I'll just try that donut, right? And it was a simple world. It was a lovely world, and
it was lovely.
Look, to be honest, like donut shops are not innovating. Like it's not like you're going into donut shop like, wait, you put in jelly in these things now? And it's like, no, we've been doing that since the beginning of time. That's like, oh, okay. But you could like get to know all the donuts. But
right.
If you go into, there's only one good buffet in the world, and it is like a James Beard buffet. I think it's James Beard in Vegas. It's like at the Bellagio. And you go in there, and I don't know if you're. I have a problematic relationship with food, but I go in there, and I'm like, and for some reason in my head, a timer begins, and I'm like, what I need to do is I need to put sushi, pizza, fried chicken. Like I need to throw it all on my plate,
Everything.
and then it has to get in here as fast as possible. I don't know why. but it's not like they time you. You know, they're not like, hey, Jordan, you know, it's not like a car meter or something. And this is the problem we have with tools like Clay and in this new world is that we're presented with so many options. It's like, I don't even know what I want. And the problem is that it's not like the donut shop anymore, right? And so now we're forced to pick, and we have a really, really, really hard problem picking.
Yeah. So, I mean, the question is, so we're going to get a little bit into how to pick, but you also had a great example of where we go. I guess you can frame it a little bit differently, but for what I took away was where we go wrong on trying to plug in these tools into the current thinking.
Yeah. And, I'll tell you about, and actually this has implications for you as a brand marketer too, but I worked with an SDR one time, and he was assigned and this was a horizontal SaaS company, and he was assigned Texas and these like oil and gas companies, and they have sold to one oil and gas company. They sold to like Shell. And so this poor 22-year-old kid is like, every time at any opportunity, you just need to be like Shell. Like you have one page to like understand all of the oil and gas
right.
industry. And it was like deranged, and marketing's like, but we gave you that one case study. And it's like, I don't know.
One page here, don't you?
Yeah. It's like, it's one page. It's a whole page. You've got a whole page to your job. So let me kind of outline the existing world. And there's a quote that I had heard from Ivan at Notion. He didn't say it, but he quoted it, which is, we shape our tools and thereafter our tools shape us. And the problem is that we're living in the Zoom Info and the Sixth Sense world. And this is a huge problem. And this is why intent tools came around, because they tried to replicate the sort of Google and Facebook world. It's like, Kyle, you don't need to know your targeting. We've got machine learning and Google's like, we'll actually sell you the search term. And you're like, great, amazing. Search term's great. Facebook's like, don't worry, we'll sell you the click. We got a bunch of machine learning engineers to sell you click. It's great. And, and Sixth Sense is like, don't worry, we'll sell you, I don't know, but buy it. Like, right. I shouldn't, they send cease and desist. They say cease and desist, so I shouldn't say. They're like serious. They will send lawyers after me. So that world, in a nutshell, was first you pick accounts, and this is 5 to 5,000 employees in technology, right? That's what account selection looked like, right? Then you write persona messages. Well, I'm going after the CMO, so I should say CMO-y things. Then you go pull contacts, you go get their email address, and you get their phone number. And then you say to the SDRs, with no other context, go personalize this. So that SDR has that one case study, and they know that Jordan Crawford wears hoodies. So, I mean, what else do you need? You
went to college or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, go Bears. Hey, are you like me? Do you like to drink on any days ending in Y? It's like, that's the message. And then you sort of scale it, right? You dump it in outreach, et cetera. And so there's two places where modern tools are existing. They exist in the account-based world and the SDR-based world. I think if I raised the wrong finger, this would be bad, but those two, right? So that's step 1 and step 4 or something. So in the account-based world, they're at the very most modern are selling you signals. Kyle, I saw that you're just hiring. I saw that this is all just, I saw this. And we were talking earlier, the very, very best, let's say that they blow up and they become Zoom Info big and they got a $30 billion market cap, whatever it is. The more people use it, the worse it gets. It's just like, it's the I just raised money sign. People used to do that. They'd say, Kyle, I saw you raise money. I like money. Can I have your money?
We did it at Lesson Week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's like, it's like, who needs us? People that have money. And they're like, I like money. Yes, what a win. It's like, great. And that's like, because that's what you could get. That's what you get. That's our tools thinking, right? And then you would hand that down to the SDRs and you're like, they have money, go write something about the blah, blah, blah. But the problem is that I saw use that account selection just gets worse the more people use it. And the AI SDRs, what they're actually doing now is they're just trying to replace the inefficient BDR headcount. They're not actually trying to improve your go-to-market. That's not what they're doing. They're like, 100%. Your broken thing is expensive and broken. We can make it cheap and broken. And it's like, would you ever like a glass that can't hold milk? It's like, but you're going to pay half for that broken glass. And they're like, well, half is pretty good. I mean, I spent $20,000 on it last year. I spent $10,000 on that thing that I can't drink milk in. It's like, what?
That's gonna cut your mouth when you try to jerk it, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, at least it's cheaper. It's like, I'm bleeding and drinking milk a little bit. Like, I can taste a little bit of milk. Like, there's still some remnants of the milk. It's not totally broken. So, it's a terrible. You're gonna send people broken glass.
Broken glass. Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, seriously though, I 100% agree with you that it is. So, breaking, like it's already a broken model. Watch it.
It's a broken model. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a message, and I'm going to set up the message, and then I'm going to work backwards into the structure of how to create that message. So I'm chatting with Overjet.ai and Overjet.com. They are a dental platform. I love vertical SaaS because they know their customer. So they don't serve dentists and cobblers, right? It's like they serve dentists, like, and what do? They oh my gosh, they have technology, like useful technologies. It's like crazy. I know we don't do that anymore, but they have useful technology. And it's like software to download files. I'm like, what? So what they actually do is they identify this. One of the things they do is they identify a really specific disease with their FDA approved tool, and it's this periodontal disease. So 67% of it goes undiagnosed. And so that, and it's highly correlated with diabetes. And they have a lot of other benefits, but this is the one that I keyed in on, right? And so with that kind of key insight, I am going to read to you the message, and then I'm going to reverse into the framework that got us to the message. Sure. So, Kyle, do you know Bob's Dental at 123 Main Street? In the last 30 days, they have helped identify 4,568 patients with periodontal disease using Overjet, which is an 86% increase since they started using our technology to detect it. This has also led to $42,000 in increased revenue for them. Healthier patients, healthier business too. You want to try it for 30 days. So, and we talked about from a brand marketer, you could send gigantic teeth to those people, right?
There's so much you could do with that. I mean, it is.
And but just the key thing here is that what we did is we identified, I mean, in this case, literally the most painful segment. Like they are actually people.
Right.
And so we identified the pain, and then we connected that to an opportunity. And that opportunity is we looked at the 20 dentists near the dentist that had the biggest increase in identification, right? So who went from 5 cases to 50 cases? And I searched around them because this is highly correlated with diabetes. It actually is location based. Like, so this disease is more prevalent in certain locations. It's not, one dentist isn't doing something to give someone the disease and another is not, right? It's like location based. Right. So first in this framework is identify a segment. And that segment is dentist near other dentists that have had the biggest transformation in their business, right? Because in this case, proximity matters. Then you find the data, right? And this is where you can use Clay to say, search nearby. And we quantified them. So we qualified them and they say they have to have more than one dentist. There's a bunch of criteria. And then we quantified them, which is like, how good of a fit are they? Well, are they doing things like, do they sell Invisalign and do they do blah, 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 right? Because you can identify these are people that are likely to adapt tech. So the segment plus the data, you know what? That wrote the message. All I did was just describe the data back to them in a friendly way. Then you can use tools to channelize that message. So if you have the individual people, unlike intent and unlike Google, et cetera, you can go from a person back to a marketing campaign, back to a sales campaign, back to a cold calling campaign. So you can use a tool like Clay to go find the ad IDs of all of those individual people. So the message that they're getting is like a message about diabetes in their area and the periodontal disease. Right. And 60 and like it's like a gigantic tooth. And it's like, can you see 3 nanometers? I can't. But it turns out that our technology can. And then you can automate all of that with Clay. And so suddenly you're not asked to like, hey, Kyle, create some cool brand thing for dentists. Like, of course you'll come up with something amazing. But it's much easier to say, create a really cool thing for this disease that takes 3 nanometers, like, and send them something super, super relevant.
Yeah. Well, I think even, tooling aside, I think that to your point, we're too often we start with the tooling and we don't think about the problem. And that's going to get I mean, listen to me, everybody listening. This is going to get way worse. Like it's just that's going to be the reality in the next year as the tools get smarter, as they get cooler. Shiny object syndrome is always an issue for marketers, right? So I guess
SOS, shiny object syndrome. There's a reason it's SOS. That's why it's that acronym. Yeah, that's a problem.
I've never
SOS.
heard that.
I just made it up right now.
That's great. Well, there's another. We've got SOS and go-to-market Jesus. Yeah, we're going through. We're going through a lot of this.
Yeah. This is an SOS message from go-to-market Jesus. That's what.
So the vertical SaaS play. I mean, it's just such a good example because the content that was written off of plugging in the right data and understanding the main thing that they solved made for the best outreach that they could ever possibly write. Even if the SDR is doing a ton of research using ChatGPT, and Jordan showed me the documentation on it, and he had to scroll 3 or 4 pages to reach the 67% stat. And all the stuff before that was just a bunch of research that the SDRs did that, in my mind, was a waste of time. So let's pull out a verticalize and think about horizontal.
Sure.
Mile wide, H deep. Where can I, like I'm in that world, a lot of people are in that world. Where do you start? If it's not a doctor's, solving diseases, which is great for marketing in general, but not for the people with disease. But you know what I'm saying? Like, where do I start?
Yeah, let's not start. Let's not fix disease. If I need to go marketing, how do I do that? Yeah. No. I like how you just like.
You don't want me trying to fix the disease.
Look. Basically, I'm fixing marketing disease. It's basically the same thing.
Right.
So this is a great question, and surprisingly, there's you can use this. It always comes to human insight. Always. Like you need to have that human insight. But really what you need to be able to do is to find those customers that where your knowledge compounds, not fractures. And this is the hard part with horizontal SaaS is that if you take 2 customers that you serve and they have different use cases, you're doing different things for them, and you learn all about them, that's your knowledge fracturing. Because it's not the same persona, it's not solving the same problem. And so what you try to do is you try to go market, you try to sell to the average of your fractured knowledge, which is bad. So you need to find what are the set of most happy users where your knowledge compounds. So where can you learn about something where you get 10 times more value when you learn more about it? And you need to do the thing that will get you fired, but it'll be best for the company, which is pick a segment. And it'll get you fired because intuitively it's the buffet thing, right? You're like, hey, what am I going to sell you? I'm going to sell you a buffet. So it's going to be great chicken and great beef, and it's going to be great sushi, and it's going to be great pizza. And you're like, absolutely. And then 2 quarters come around, you're like, we're still working on it, But the other thing is like, we're just going to look like we're going to take people inbound. If people have money, we'll take their money. But if we're going outbound, if we're going to go try to identify net new prospects, where do we have a 10 times advantage? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make only 2 restaurants in the next 2 quarters. I'm going to make a sushi restaurant and a pizza restaurant. Like those are the 2 segments we're going to take bets on. Everyone needs to be aligned on those and
focus.
You need to focus. And you need to start with your existing customers. Like actually, maybe we should just do this for you since we got some time. What is the segment where Jellyfish, where you're like, if you had to, gun to your head, you had to identify a segment. Like, what's the segment where you're like, we blew it out of the water?
It's either technology companies or gaming.
Okay, let's not take technology companies because every technology company is a unique snowflake. And gaming is better because this is technology companies, your knowledge will fracture for sure.
Yeah.
Because they're just totally different. So gaming is like probably where your knowledge will compound. So tell me more about like what do you do for gaming companies?
Well, it's pretty much the same product across the board, but specifically for a gaming company, it's productivity and efficiency of their engineering team. So managing, how they're using AI code gen tools, how are their code quality, how are they delivering product. You can think about it at a high level as like a sales force for engineering teams.
Okay, so what are the implications if they do that bad?
They're wasting money on engineers and bad code and not delivering products on time, and they're buying a bunch of code gen software that's not working, like the AI tools like Copilot. There's a
Okay.
lot of different ones. Unhappy engineers.
So let's now I'm just going to make things up just I'm going to make data up, which is not how you should do this, but really actually maybe you should tell me, can you give me actual customer words about when they say, like, think about the customer that has had the most change in their business specifically for this gaming vertical. Like, what's something that they have said where they're like, X was true before and now Y is true and it's changed our business? Like, give me some examples of that.
So a good one is they were doing a bunch of manual time tracking for software capitalization across thousands of engineers, and we completely automated. So there's not the time cards and engineers having to fill out time, like the time that they spend doing X, Y, and Z, and then sending it over to finance, and finance going through it. Like, it automates that process of software capitalization.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it saves time.
Well, so for that particular use case, why were the engineers doing that in the first place? Like, what insight did that give them to know where the engineers are spending their time?
Well, in particular for that use case, it's mostly for software capitalization of the R&D spend on the finance level, like keeping track of R&D tax credits and things that we could go really deep in. But maybe we pick a different one here.
No. I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
hold my beer, Kyle. Like, I could take it. So the kind of interesting thing on the R&D spend is that the first thing I would do is look to see if you can find public records of this. So I know that, especially like in nonprofits or whatever, that they have to release some of their tax information. And so you have
Public companies.
yeah,
Like
public
their
companies.
earnings
Okay.
reports. Yeah.
Exactly. So imagine this. Imagine if you knew the count of engineers and you knew how much R&D tax credit that they were spending, right? And you can kind of imagine that if you can correlate those two things, and let's say it's 1-to-1, right? Like, they're getting as much as they possibly can, and they've got a bunch of engineers. Well, then you know they're probably doing it inefficiently. And so you're like, you're actually doing all of the right things, but my guess is to do that, you're spending a lot of time. So, and the other thing is that if you find a gap, let's imagine a tension where you say, great, you have 500 engineers and I can see in your public earnings that you're not claiming this at all. That means that, like, you have two options. Either you go manually do this or use our technology. And then you, by the way, I did some work for Main Street a long time ago. You can actually calculate the amount of money that they can get back in those tax credits.
Yeah.
So
And
you could
use that in the outreach for sure.
yeah. So you could
Absolutely.
say like Jordan, based on the earnings call that based on the 10K or something, I read your 10K, and in the 10K, I know I could not find a line item for tax credits, but you got 40,000 engineers. And that means that you're missing out on exactly this amount of revenue. And then you tell a case study about another gaming company that you actually did X, Y, or Z for.
Right.
So,
And that's, I think that, and how you can do that at scale is what's interesting to me, especially if you have multiple use cases, multiple personas, and more of a platform approach to your product, where it's not just one specific use case that you're selling, like a point solution.
well,
That's where-
this is actually what the AI tools will do, is they will allow you to, this is like deep research, et cetera. You can go segment by segment by segment by segment. And so the marketers, the salespeople that will win, understand this framework. They can deploy AI using this framework. And with AI, they can, so I'm doing something called the go-to-market cannonball, where we take a company from zero to a ship marketing campaign in an hour. March 6th, we're going to do it in person in San Francisco. Our first live stream is this Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, and we're going to do it for Overjet. We did prepare a little bit for Overjet. I have to I'm going to admit
that's
that.
fair, that's fair.
But
That's fair.
usually we don't really prepare for these. But this is your challenge, actually, is that you have to pick that segment, and then if you got really good at operationalizing this, and you went segment, and let's say you could ship a segment. We're trying to do this in an hour, but imagine if you could ship a segment every 3 weeks. Right? There are a finite number of segments, and let's say that only one works. If it works, it's going to work exponentially well,
Right.
because it's so specific.
Is that what you mean by AI micro agents? Like, where's for the connection for, if you're selling 5 different personas, use cases, you have a much larger platform, you've got a team of BDRs doing outreach. Like, I get you're saying, hey, you should probably experiment on something that's a very focused segment. And then you can scale using these micro agents? Or am I speaking off like
No. This is exactly right. And this is the purpose is specificity. How old are your kids again?
6 and 9.
Okay. So you've got a 9-year-old. If you said to the 9-year-old, go and do the morning routine, or help me with this, it's too big. It's just crazy, right? Everything would be slightly off, and you're like, oh man.
That's such a great way to frame it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but if you said take your socks and put them in the drawer, it's I know exactly what that is, right? So this is AI. AI is the world's smartest 9th grader. So you can't give it a contextless question. And this is the thing about a lot of AI agents. They'll say things like, write a personalized email for me. And what you're essentially saying is take all of the thing that I can't do. I can't do that. I don't know how to do it, but you're AI. Aren't you smarter than me? And so this is how we're thinking about AI agents. It's just write a message. And it's a deranged thing to ask a person to do. We're not even good at asking a person to do it.
Right.
And then has all the training, and then they write something and they're like, I saw you went to college, right? And so this is a problem because what we're doing is we're saying, I have no idea how to do this. I've never driven a car before. I don't know how it works. I don't know anything. It's but you're a smart person. You drive a car. And it's well, where do I begin? It's how do I even get into this? Do I put my head at the bottom? No, don't do that. And it's well, what should I do? And it's I can't tell you what to do, but don't do that. And then so we're trying to okay, so do I get in the back seat? Definitely don't get in the back seat. And it's well, do I just turn this wheel? You can't, no, not yet. And it's so you can't get too good that way. What you need to say is first pull, open the door. And it's well, what does pull mean? It's well, put your hand through that handle.
But you're saying just spend the time on the prompt, right?
No,
I'm
no,
simplifying it, but
that's not actually the problem. It is narrow the problem before you get to the prompt. So what you're trying to do is you're not trying to say you're not trying to say, hey, AI, raise my kids. That's what people are doing. It's wait, what? But it's much easier to say my kid is sick. He's been coughing for 3 weeks. He has X, Y, or Z symptoms and his eyes are runny. What are help me identify the 3 things that this possibly could be and what should I do about them? That's what a micro agent is, because you have a very, very, very specified problem. And that's the purpose of a segment. You're it's gaming. It's in the 10K. It's looking for these tax credits. It's so specific. And that way AI doesn't have to try to search and structure all of the web for you.
So if a CMO is listening and has not done anything, nothing,
great.
They're probably chatting to ChatGPT. Probably.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they're.
Yeah.
Where do they go? What's the next step for the people listening right now where they want to be like Overjet? So of course they can go to blueprintgtm.com.
Oh, nice.
And hang
You're
out
good
with
at this.
you.
Wow.
Right?
Well, look at you go.
But where else? What should they be thinking about?
Where else? They should come to my house. So no.
Come to the Church of GTM. Which
Yeah. Nay, I shall teach you everything about go-to-market AI. Yeah. Go with God. That's what I tell people when I'm I don't know how to fix this. Go with God. So
Go with God.
Go with God. So what should they do? Well, I am actually building a workflow to try to help with this problem, and it really begins with, so go to your SDR team and say to them, what I want you to do is I want you to and actually bring together your whole SDR team and say, show me what you research. When a lead comes in, what are you looking for? And they'll see it. They'll see it. It's well, what I do is I go here, I go around this corner, I go to here, and then I go to the 10K, and in the 10K, there's a line item here that says R&D tax credit. And they're going to be oh shit, you're right, it's right there. I never thought about this. And there's going to be, and that SDR is going to be squirrely. It's this is sort of my secret sauce. I can really do this. And so you're come on, give me your secret sauce.
But then they're going to double their quota the next month.
Yeah. So then what you need to do from there is you probably can dump in a bunch of your Gong is really terrible to work with in this way, but really you're going to need to be able to dump a bunch of your Gong transcripts of people that are in that same situation, just jump into ChatGPT and be like, what was the customer insight? And if you understand the customer insight, then the next question you need to ask is, how do I get that data at scale? And once you get the data at scale, everything else, all your targeting, everything else comes down from there. But the only people that know it are the sales development reps. And so the marketers need to get out of this idea that they have to download a list, that they have to do their ABM from some tool. Like, you don't have to do that, but you need to start with the insight for a segment. And if you start with the insight for the segment, the marketer is going to be like when I told you the periodontal disease, like, I imagine your mind went 1,000 miles. You're like, I know exactly what to do. I know how to talk to them. Like,
it's because it's the exact thing that we're all trying to do, is that type of messaging, all of it, like that type of messaging. The radius stuff was brilliant, but like, here's somebody like you that solved this pain and is making this amount of money because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ultimately what we're trying to do.
And I think the other way to do this is, so go buy ChatGPT Pro, pay the $200 a month. And then what you need to do is you need to click on that deep research button, select O1 Pro, and drop this prompt. Say, I am a CMO of X company. I am trying to identify the customers that have got the absolute most amount out of my software. And I want to know, what are the things that are uniting them based on the things that they are saying online. And so what I want you to do in this order is to improve this prompt. Do not run it, improve this prompt. And this prompt is going to identify my ideal customer profile, then identify my persona. It's going to gather an ungodly amount of, because we're religious, an ungodly amount of quotes about a problem. Then what it's going to do is identify the top 3 segments where those problems are most correlated. And then what I want you to do is tell me, if I were to, using only public data, identify those segments, how would I do this? Now remember, I do not want you to execute this prompt. I want you to help me improve it. And so you're going to create a meta prompt, and that meta prompt is going to help me identify the best possible segment. And so don't just take what I have said, help me improve this prompt, and then go click deep research and run it, and it'll tell you what to do.
I mean, we're going to leave it there. That is all of you listening, go do it. I'm going to do it right after this, but Jordan, honestly, I could probably have you on again and we could talk for an hour about this stuff, but it was a pleasure having you. Can you just remind people where they can go if they want to learn from you?
Sure. I'm linkedin.com/in/Jordan Crawford. I'm just my first name at blueprintgtm.com if you want to send me electronic mail, if that's your thing. Probably LinkedIn is the best place to send me a message. I'm on there. The only place that I spend more than talking to AI, I talk to AI more than I talk to people, but it's probably LinkedIn. Yeah, I know it's like a little disgusting.
More than happy to, or shoot a note to me or shoot a note to Mr. Norton. I'm sure we would be happy to introduce you to Jordan.
I bet you no one has ever called him Mr. Norton. I think he's going to,
I don't know. You never know. Maybe some of his reps. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Kyle.
I appreciate it.